Hello, my name is Vince Andriani. I'm the service manager in charge of IT here at the Answer Company. I want to welcome everyone to the Answer Company's Propel 2021 virtual client event. In today's session, we'll be discussing how to host your ERP in the cloud. But a bit about my history first. I've been in IT for over 20 years now, so I've seen many things. I remember the days of the dumb terminal. This is where there was large servers managed by the IT team hidden somewhere back in the office. And at the desk, you would find a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Now this provided a lot of problems for the IT team. There was large servers to maintain, many people connecting, and people could not work if the servers went down. At some point, the local computer, became much more powerful. And they started moving the local computing to the workstation instead of the servers. We still needed those servers in the back end, but just for hosting data and the application. If people needed to connect offline, they could at least work offline on their workstations. But this caused a problem once the laptop came around. The laptop provided for mobility, which was great for the user, but not great for the IT team. The IT team was responsible to make sure that the users could access the applications efficiently, yet be secure from attackers on the internet. Then someone came along and said, maybe we should be moving our servers into data centers and having people connect over the internet. This was a great opportunity for organizations to move their servers off and into the cloud, and thus cloud computing and storage became popular. In today's session, we will be discussing hosting your ERP application in the cloud, with a primary focus on the Answer Company's hosting offering. We will go through the Answer Company's hosting history, why you should consider hosting in the cloud, get into a little more detail of the hosting options, look at some of the pros and cons of tax hosting versus other forms of hosting, and then dig deeper into the Answer Company's hosting offering. The Answer Company has been hosting client ERP servers in one form or another since 1997, when we partnered with a local hosting and IT firm in an effort to support our clients that either did not have the resources nor the want to manage their ERP servers in-house. Since that time, we have received many requests from our clients to expand this service. In 2016, the Managed Services Department of the Answer Company was formalized, and it became abundantly clear that our clients had a real desire to ensure that their ERP applications were running optimally with minimal downtime. Therefore, we partnered with a hosting provider to develop our own hosting offering. This is specifically geared towards hosting of our clients' ERP needs. One of the biggest benefits, besides the service performance and uptime of this service, is that our application consultants are able to easily gain access to the servers. This immediately resulted in the reduction of resolution time for our clients. Essentially, the Answer Company's goal, in conjunction with our other managed services, is to be the one-stop shop for all your technology needs. So what is a hosted server? For the purposes of this session, a hosted server is a server that is located outside of your premises and managed by a third party called a hosting provider. Typically, these servers are located within a dedicated data center. Once provisioned, any operating system program can be installed on it. Access is facilitated over the internet. So why would you want to move your ERP program from an on-premise server to the cloud? The primary reason for our clients revolves around their existing server infrastructure. To break this down even further, many clients are running their ERP programs on older legacy servers. Due to their age, there's a potential for the server hardware to fail. In the event of a localized server failure, there are essentially three ways to recover: repair the server, replace the server, move the server to another existing server. Since old hardware is harder to source, repairing the server could take weeks, months, or never. Replacing the server is another option, but even new server hardware is hard to find these days, and it still may take weeks to procure and set up. Lastly, you could recover the server to an existing server. This is assuming that you have a recoverable backup of the system and it has been tested. But old hardware is not the only problem. With hosting your ERP application in-house, what happens if there's a catastrophic event that renders your office unusable, like a flood or a fire? What if the power goes out? What if the internet goes down? These are all environmental events that could restrict access to your ERP program for days, months, weeks, or even longer. When referring to hosted environments, some of the greatest advantages are: 1. The server equipment is typically at a more enterprise level than on-premise hardware. This ensures that the performance is higher and there is a less chance of server failure. 2. The ability to upgrade the hardware is very easy. Therefore, if there is more resources required like memory and/or hard drive space, it can be upgraded almost instantaneously. 3. Redundancy of all critical services. For example, there is multiple forms of power, multiple forms of internet, as well as multiple forms of cooling. 4. There is managing and monitoring of the server hardware. The servers are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In the event of a hardware failure, the hosting provider will be alerted and have the ability to send out the repair team instantaneously. If you are questioning whether or not to move to a hosted ERP server, you need to ask yourself the following question. How long can you operate without access to your ERP application before it adversely affects your business? If your answer is anything less than 2 weeks, then I would say you should seriously consider hosting your ERP application in the cloud. At a high level, there are essentially 3 options when considering where to host your ERP. Public cloud provided by a hosting provider, public cloud provided by a large organization that also develops software, or private cloud. As you can see, the first 2 options refer to public cloud. This means that your server is on shared hardware and shared amongst many other organizations that are unknown to you, as opposed to private cloud. Private cloud means the physical servers are owned by an organization and only their clients are hosted on their hardware. While the hardware is still shared, the organization has more controls over the system. Let's dig a little deeper. When referring to public cloud provided by a hosting provider, it is important to note that a hosting provider's sole business is hosting. They have their own data center. Your application will be shared on a large array of hardware that hosts many other servers. There's a very little chance that anyone on another server can access your server. These hosting providers are typically quite large and understand the underlying server hardware, but have little to no knowledge of the ERP application. Therefore, you, the client, are responsible for monitoring and maintenance of the operating system that the ERP application is installed. An example of a cloud provider that is also a software developer is Microsoft. Microsoft has taken their hosting option, called Azure, and added some cohesion with their software options. For example, they offer an option for SQL Server that is offered as a service as opposed to install on the server. Again, your server is stored on shared hardware, and again, you are responsible for monitoring and maintenance. But Microsoft is a larger enterprise, and therefore you do have the backing of an enterprise that is global. Private cloud is when an organization purchases their own hardware and either hosts it in their own data center or works with a hosting provider that is responsible for everything that connects and or supports the physical servers. These organizations are typically smaller and provide a more boutique type service. They manage and monitor the server operating system and applications to ensure a best-in-class service. The servers that are hosted in this data center are typically only the clients of the organization. Because this is a full service, this is a more hands-off option than the other 2 server options. As stated previously, a public cloud provided by a hosting provider is where the hosting organization's primary business is hosting. We will now review some of the pros and cons of this service. Some of the positive aspects of this service are: 1. These are typically medium-sized businesses, and therefore their offerings for the most part are fairly mature, and their support teams are well developed. 2. In some cases, they will have multiple geolocated data centers. This means that they will have servers located in possibly different parts of a country or different countries. This is beneficial in the event of a disaster that is specific to a location like an earthquake or tornado. 3. These organizations' primary business is hosting, and if they are a mature company, this is what they do best. Some of the negative aspects of this service are: 1. These organizations typically do not support the server at the operating system level and or the application level. Therefore, that would be your responsibility. 2. These organizations typically do not know ERP applications and the underlying SQL databases. Therefore, the server may not be configured optimally for the ERP program. And 3, due to the fact that these organizations have so many clients, they will not have intimate knowledge of your server, and thus the time to resolve any issues may take longer. Just to refresh your memory, a public cloud provided by a software developer is where the hosting organization's primary business is typically something other than hosting. We will now review some of the pros and cons of this service. One of the greatest benefits in working with these organizations is that they are a very large enterprise and have very deep pockets. Due to this fact, they are a mature company with well-developed policies and procedures and data centers. 2, they essentially have no chance of going bankrupt. 3, they will have multiple geolocated data centers with possible failovers in the event of a disaster. And 4, they have a very large support community that you can utilize for issue resolution. Some of the negative aspects of this service are: 1, these organizations will not support the server at the operating system and/or application level. Therefore, that would be your responsibility. 2, these organizations typically do not know ERP applications and the underlying SQL databases. Therefore, the server may not be configured optimally for your ERP program. 3, these organizations do have large support centers, and many of them are located in different countries. And you may get a dedicated support person, but that person may take days to return your request, and they tend to refrain from escalating your request to the next level of support. 4, the billing of these servers is based on a set fee for the processor, memory, and hard drive usage. But there's also a usage charge for the amount of data that is being transferred. Therefore, you may not have consistent hosting fees from month to month. Just to refresh your memory, private cloud is when an organization like the Answer Company either builds their own servers within a data center or partners with a hosting provider. The servers are wholly owned by the organization and typically only host their clients. They rely on the hosting provider and the data center to take care of the monitoring of the hardware. Some of the positive aspects of this service are: 1, this is a hands-off service for the client. This is because the provider is responsible for the monitoring and management of the servers, as well as providing antivirus and backup services. 2, due to the fact that the provider is in charge of all aspects of the service, the experience for the client is typically best in industry. 3, by leveraging the data center, hosting provider, and the internal technology stack, the response to issue resolution is very fast, thus ensuring a maximum client uptime. 4, these organizations' primary business is ERP applications, and therefore they have an in-depth knowledge of the ERP application in conjunction with the underlying SQL server. This means that the servers are configured for maximum performance and efficiency in relation to the ERP application. 5, money flow is very important for an organization, and many strive to create budgets for each department. When their money spent is inconsistent, it becomes very hard to create a proper budget. With private hosting, your monthly hosting fees are the same and only change when the resources for the server change. There are a few negative aspects of the service. 1, when dealing with internal IT staff, there can be some opposition as they do not have any administrative visibility and/or control. And 2, when a client is bound by regulatory policies, it can be very difficult for the provider to accommodate these policies. You might be thinking that the pricing of a private hosting offering is more than one of the other public offerings. But when you factor in some of the licensing requirements and the cost of managing the system, the pricing is very comparable. The only time that public hosting is definitely less expensive is when you are a registered non-for-profit. If this is the case, please reach out to us, as we may be able to assist you. The Answer Company's hosted environment is located in one of the largest and highest rated data centers located in downtown Vancouver. We also have a data center in Toronto. That means that your data resides in Canada and only in Canada. This data center houses some of the largest organizations like Amazon, BC Securities Commission, and many major banks, With clients like that, they don't take anything for granted. Virtually everything is redundant, from power to cooling to physical security. They can run without power from the power utility provider for 2 days before they have to refuel their generators. They even have one of those cool circle-looking doors that only allow one person through at a time. You know, the first door opens and you walk into the tube, the door closes behind you, and the other door opens. And if the wait appears strange, the opposing door will not open. Access to the hosted server is through the internet. This means that you can provide access for your remote staff as long as they have an internet connection. You could even offer your accounting staff the ability to work from home if their son or daughter is not well, or if we have one of those rare snow days that shuts down the whole city. A big focus for organizations today is to provide a better work-life balance for their staff. With hosting and remote access, you have another tool to increase employee work satisfaction. Our data center supports lines from all the major internet providers. Therefore, if one of our providers is down, we can use another. The internet service is so fast that any organization would find it quite difficult to match our internet speeds. In most cases, remote users see better speeds from our hosted servers than they would from our on-premise servers. We take the burden off our client's IT team by securing the hosted environment. We place all our servers behind an enterprise-grade firewall. We do not allow our clients to expose their systems to the public internet and thus reducing the potential of a brute force attack. But this is only one part of ensuring our clients' data is protected. Every server has a fully monitored and managed antivirus, anti-malware program installed, very much like our managed service offering. We ensure that the program is always up to date, and if there's any malicious attacks, we will be alerted immediately. We supplement this with an application that blocks IP addresses that appear to be trying to attack the server. So from the server's perspective, internet-based cyber attacks are virtually eliminated. In order to ensure our client's data is protected, we do incremental data and nightly image level backups with a prescribed retention level. Keeping in line with our managed services mantra, our hosted server service is completely hands-off. We take care of all aspects of the hardware and the operating system. We will monitor the server 24/7 and we are alerted if there's any issues. Additionally, our management system is actively correcting issues without the client even knowing. And when we have a scheduled maintenance window, we will alert the client. Of course, you can contact us via phone, email, or client portal if you're experiencing any issues. We will get back to you quickly. All of this wrapped up in a service level agreement that guarantees maximum uptime. This now concludes this session on hosting your ERP in the cloud.